During Sunday lunch, I mentioned the cabin trip we'd planned. My sister rolled her eyes. "You're not invited this time." My dad said, "We need a break from you." I just smiled and cleared my plate. A week later they reached the cabin, only to learn the reservation had been cancelled. The panic messages started flooding in immediately and then My father looked me dead in the eye across the Sunday dinner table and told me he needed a break from me. Not from work. Not from stress. From me. His daughter. Want to know what I did? I smiled, cleared my plate, and exactly 1 week later, I cancelled the family cabin trip they'd been planning for months, the one I'd paid for and booked under my name. And when my phone exploded with their panicked messages as they stood outside with nowhere to stay and groceries melting in coolers, I read every single one. And I didn't respond to any of them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how it got to that point because I promise you, I'm not the villain here even though they tried to make me one. Let me back up to that Sunday lunch 3 weeks ago. I'd brought my famous lemon bars, the ones Dad always requests. My daughter Emma was at her friend's house for a playdate, so it was just me and the family. Mom made pot roast. Everything seemed normal. Warm even. I was telling them about this nature photography course Emma wanted to take, trying to include them in my life like I always did, when I casually mentioned, "Oh, and I'm really looking forward to the cabin trip next month. Emma's so excited to see the lake." That's when Bridget, my younger sister, rolled her eyes so hard I'm surprised she didn't see her own brain. She didn't even look up from her phone. Just said flat and cold, "You're not invited this time, Lauren." The conversation stopped. Like someone had hit pause on the entire room. I laughed because surely this was a joke, right? What? My brother Kyle suddenly found his napkin fascinating. Mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. And then Dad, the man who walked me down the aisle at my wedding, who cried when Emma was born, leaned back in his chair and said it. "We need a break from you, Lauren. You know that feeling when the floor drops out from under you, but you're still somehow sitting in your chair? That. A break," I repeated, my voice surprisingly steady. "From me. You've just been a lot lately," Bridget added, finally looking up with this expression like I was a chore she was tired of dealing with. "Everything's always about your achievements, your house, your whatever. It's exhausting. Do you hear that? I was too successful for them. Too much. And somehow that meant I didn't deserve a family vacation I'd literally organized and paid for." Kyle finally spoke up, but not to defend me. "It'll just be easier this year with a smaller group. You understand, right?" Well, I didn't understand. But here's what I did understand. That cabin reservation sitting in my email inbox. The one I'd booked 6 months ago when Dad specifically asked me to handle it because I was so good with that online stuff. The $1,200 deposit from my credit card. The entire weekend that existed solely because of me. "Hey," I said. Just that. One word. Mom looked up then and I saw something like relief wash over her face. Relief that I wasn't going to make a scene. That I was being reasonable. I smiled. A real smile, not a fake one, and started clearing my plate. Let them think I was taking it well. Let them think I was the bigger person. Bridget and Kyle exchanged this little smirk, like they'd successfully handled an awkward situation. Dad went back to his pot roast. And I carried my dishes to the kitchen, kissed Mom on the cheek like I always did, and told them I'd see them next week. I drove home in complete silence. No radio. No crying. Just thinking. That night, Emma came home full of stories about her playdate and I made her favorite mac and cheese and I tucked her in and I read her 3 chapters of Matilda like always. And after she fell asleep I sat on my couch with a glass of wine and my laptop. The cabin reservation glowed on my screen. Confirmation number. Full itinerary. Check-in instructions. All in my name. All paid by me. All waiting for them. Do you think I should have just let it go? Accepted that my family didn't want me around and moved on? I didn't touch anything that night. I actually waited the entire week. A whole 7 days where my phone never rang. Not one, "Hey, we should talk about Sunday." Not one that came out wrong. Nothing. They were perfectly comfortable with cutting me out. So on Friday morning, the day they were all supposed to check in, I woke up at 6 a.m., made Emma her chocolate chip pancakes and waited until exactly 10 a.m. That's when they would have arrived at the cabin after their 4-hour drive. I opened my laptop, found the reservation, and clicked cancel booking. One click. That's all it took to make their entire weekend disappear. My phone stayed quiet for exactly 18 minutes. Then it started. A text from Dad. "Lauren, there's some mistake with the cabin reservation. Can you call them?" Mistake. He called it a mistake. Then Bridget. The cabin people are saying we don't have a reservation? Fix this now." Kyle. "Hey, the property manager says there's nothing under our name. What's going on?" And Mom, always trying to smooth things over. "Sweetie, I think there might be a computer error. Could you please call and straighten this out? We're all here and very confused. I read every message. Watched those little red receipts appear under their texts so they'd know I saw them. And then I picked up my daughter from school early, took her to that new ice cream place she'd been begging to try, and we spent the afternoon at the park. My phone kept buzzing in my pocket. I kept ignoring it. By evening the messages had gotten desperate. Then angry. Then really angry. Dad, Lauren, this isn't funny. We drove 4 hours. We have groceries spoiling in coolers. Where is the reservation? Bridget, you did this on purpose, you petty bitch. Kyle, come on, Lauren. Whatever you're mad about, this isn't the way to handle it. I was mad about something. Like they didn't remember exactly what they'd said to me 7 days ago. And then Mom sent this. Please, Lauren. Your father has been looking forward to this for months. Don't punish all of us. Don't punish all of them. Let that sink in for a second. What do you think went through my head when I read that? Because I'll tell you, it wasn't guilt. They needed a break from me. Well, congratulations. They got one. A whole weekend of it, standing in a parking lot with nowhere to go and no plan B, finally understanding what it felt like to be excluded. And believe me, this was just the beginning of their break. It is what they did next. What they did very, very soon. That's when I realized I wasn't dealing with thoughtless family members anymore. I was dealing with people who genuinely wanted to hurt me. I finally responded to them at 9 p.m. that night. Just one text to the family group chat. You said you needed a break from me. Enjoy it. Then I muted the conversation and went to bed. The next morning I woke up to 43 missed calls. But here's the thing, I didn't care anymore. They'd shown me exactly who they were and I believed them. What I didn't expect was the knock on my door that Sunday morning. I was making Emma breakfast when I heard it. Loud, aggressive pounding. Mommy, who's that? Emma asked, looking up from her coloring book with worried eyes. Stay here, baby, I said, already knowing exactly who it was. I opened the door to find all 4 of them on my porch. Dad looked furious. Mom looked exhausted. Kyle had his arms crossed and Bridget looked like she wanted to murder me. We need to talk, Dad said, already pushing past me into my house. Into my house. Emma's inside, I said firmly. Whatever you want to say it outside. You embarrassed us. Bridget hissed. Do you know how humiliating it was? Standing there with all our stuff, everyone staring at us. Good, I said simply. Now you know how I felt at Sunday dinner. That was different, Kyle jumped in. We were just trying to have one trip without me. I know. So I gave you exactly what you wanted. Mom stepped forward. Lauren, sweetheart, we didn't mean it like that. Your father's been under stress and Bridget's dealing with her divorce. That I was the problem? I interrupted. That excluding me was the solution? You've changed, Dad said, and there it was. Ever since you got that fancy promotion and bought this house, you've been different. Acting like you're better than us. Actually laughed. I've been different? The only thing that changed is that I stopped lending you money. The silence was deafening. That's what this is really about, isn't it? I continued. Kyle, how much do I still owe you for that business investment? That never happened. Bridget, when did you pay me back for Emma's birthday party? Dad, should we talk about the $5,000 you borrowed 2 years ago? Family helps family, Dad said through gritted teeth. Family respects family, I shot back. We stood there in this horrible standoff until Emma appeared behind me. Grandpa. Dad's face immediately softened. Hey there, pumpkin. Are you here for breakfast? Emma asked hopefully. They left after some awkward small talk with Emma, but not before Dad pulled me aside. This isn't over, Lauren. I'm just taking the break you said you needed, I said calmly. The next 2 weeks were blissfully quiet. No calls. No texts. Emma asked about them a few times, but I told her everyone was busy. And honestly, I felt lighter than I had in years. Then my phone rang at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Nobody calls at 2 a.m. with good news. It was Mom. Lauren, you need to come to the hospital. Your father had a heart attack. Everything else evaporated. He was still my dad. I called my neighbor to watch Emma and drove to the hospital with shaking hands. Do you think I was wrong to rush over after everything? I found them in the waiting room. Bridget was crying. Kyle was pacing. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. When they saw me, Mom hugged me tight. How is he? I asked. Stable, the doctor said. Mild heart attack, but he'll be fine. He's asking for family. When it was my turn, I found Dad looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, hooked up to machines. He reached for my hand. Lauren, he said weakly. I'm sorry. About everything. Life's too short for this. I felt my eyes sting. Dad. You were right. About all of it. I've been jealous of your success. Instead of being proud, I pushed you away. This was the apology I'd been waiting for. I forgive you, Dad, I said, squeezing his hand. He smiled weakly. Good. Because I'm going to need your help with something. My stomach dropped. The hospital bills are going to be expensive and my insurance isn't great. I was hoping. I pulled my hand away. Dad. Just a loan, he said quickly. Kyle and Bridget are tight on money, your mother's on a fixed income, so I'm the ATM again. I just had a heart attack, Lauren. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Do you see what he did? Turned his health crisis into leverage. I stood up. I need some air. I walked past my family straight to my car. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes just breathing. My phone buzzed. Kyle, Mom says you're upset. Dad almost died, Lauren. Whatever petty grudge you're holding needs to end now. Petty grudge. That's what my boundaries had become. I drove home, picked up Emma from my neighbors and stood watching her sleep. This perfect little person who deserved to see her mother stand up for herself. That's when I called Aunt Diana, Dad's sister who'd been mysteriously absent from family gatherings for 5 years. Lauren, it's been ages. How are you? Aunt Diana, why don't you come to family dinners anymore? Long pause. Your father didn't tell you? Tell me what? Sweetheart, I stopped coming because your father asked me to stop flaunting my money after I retired early. He said I made them feel like failures. My blood ran cold. When was this? About 6 years ago. Right around when you started your career. It all clicked. This wasn't new behavior. I was just the latest victim. I told her everything. When I finished, she said, Lauren, our family has a sickness. We tear down anyone who rises above because it reminds us of our own failures. Your grandmother told me that before she died. Love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. What did you do? I set boundaries and walked away. Your father eventually apologized, but I never went back to the way things were. That conversation changed everything. I went to the hospital the next day with a check made out directly to billing. Enough to cover what insurance wouldn't. But I also brought a letter I'd written at 3 a.m. I found them all in Dad's room. They looked up hopefully. I'm paying the hospital bill, I said. But you all need to hear something first. I read my letter. About how I'd loved our family. About the cabin and the money and being punished for doing well. About teaching Emma what family should look like. When I finished, there were tears. I love you all, I said. But I'm done being the family A-team. No more loans. No more guilt trips. If you want me in your life, it's because you actually want me, not because you need something. I put the check on Dad's table. This is the last time. Dad was quiet. Then, okay, you're right. We've been using you. And I'm sorry. Bridget scoffed. Are you seriously apologizing to her? Bridget, Dad said firmly. Enough. She's right. Mom reached for my hand. Can we start over? Maybe, I said honestly. But it'll take time. An actual change, not just words. For 2 weeks, things were different. Then Mom came by with chicken and dumplings, just wanting lunch with Emma and me. No agenda. It was awkward but nice. The next Sunday, Kyle asked to take Emma to movies. The Sunday after, Dad called just to talk. No requests. Just conversation. It was working. We were healing. And then 3 weeks after Dad got out of the hospital, Emma's school called. Miss Patterson? This is Principal Morrison. There's been an incident with Emma. You need to come right away. I broke every speed limit getting there. I found Emma in the nurse's office with an ice pack on her wrist, tears streaming down her face. What happened? I demanded. The principal looked uncomfortable. Emma was picked up early by her grandfather. When she came back, she was very upset. Perhaps Emma should tell you. I knelt in front of my daughter. Baby, what did Grandpa say? Emma's lip trembled. He said you were keeping the family apart. That you were being mean. He said if I really loved him, I'd tell you to stop being selfish. And when I said you weren't selfish, he squeezed my wrist really hard and said I didn't understand because I was just a kid. The room started spinning. He hurt you. Emma nodded, showing me the bruise forming on her tiny wrist. Everything crystallized into absolute clarity. Do you know what I did? I took a photo of Emma's wrist. I called the police right there from the principal's office. And when the officer arrived and asked if I wanted to press charges against my own father for deliberately hurting my child, I didn't hesitate. Yes. Absolutely yes. Because my daughter's safety? That was a line nobody got to cross. What I didn't know was that this decision was about to change everything in ways I never imagined. The police took my statement, photographed Emma's wrist, and told me they'd be paying my father a visit. I took Emma home, made her favorite mac and cheese, and let her watch cartoons until she fell asleep. Then I sat in the dark, waiting. Took 2 hours. Dad, the police just showed up. You called the police on me? Bridget, You are insane. He's recovering from a heart attack. Kyle. He barely touched her. She's fine. Mom, please don't do this to our family. I read every message. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning I took Emma to her pediatrician. Got the bruise documented. Then I called a family law attorney Aunt Diana recommended. I need a restraining order, I told her. Against my father. To protect my daughter. Do you think that was extreme? Because he crossed from hurting me to hurting my child. And I wouldn't let that happen twice. The restraining order hearing was set for 2 weeks out. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were over 200 messages. I was tearing the family apart. I was vindictive. I was overreacting. Dad barely touched her. But one message was different. From Aunt Diana, I'm proud of you. Stay strong. The day before the hearing, Mom showed up alone. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Can we talk? She asked quietly. We sat at my kitchen table. Emma was at school. I believe Emma, Mom said, and something cracked in my chest. I believe he hurt her. And I'm sorry I didn't say that right away. Then why did you ask me not to do this? Mom's eyes filled with tears. Because I'm scared of what happens if this family falls apart. I'm scared of choosing between my husband and my daughter. You're choosing him, I said flatly. I'm asking if there's any other way, she said. He's sorry, Lauren. He didn't mean to hurt her. He was just frustrated. Mom. He grabbed my 7-year-old hard enough to bruise her because she defended me. That's abuse. Don't use that word, Mom said quickly. What word would you use when a grown man hurts a child on purpose? Mom looked away. If you go through with this, your father will never forgive you. Bridget and Kyle won't either. You'll lose all of us. Then I lose you, I said. Because Emma's safety isn't negotiable. Mom left without another word. The hearing was brutal. Dad looked frail and hurt. He told the judge it was a misunderstanding, that Emma bruised easily, that I was using his granddaughter to punish him. My lawyer presented the photos, medical records, and Emma's statement to the school counselor. The judge granted a temporary restraining order. 6 months. No contact with Emma. Dad's face when the judge read the decision, I'll never forget it. Not anger. Not remorse. Just this cold, calculated look that said, you're going to regret this. That night I finally looked at my messages. Bridget, you destroyed our father in court. Don't ever contact me again. Kyle, if Dad has another heart attack, that's on you. Mom, I don't know who you are anymore. And one from an unknown number. Your father may not be able to contact Emma, but we can still make your life hell. You should have just kept your mouth shut. But instead of fear, I felt something else. Freedom. For the first time, I'd chosen my daughter over their dysfunction. I'd chosen peace over people-pleasing. 2 months passed. The messages stopped. Bridget blocked me. Kyle sent one last message saying I was dead to him. Mom sent Emma a birthday card but didn't sign it. Emma asked about them less. She stopped having nightmares. She laughed more. We started new traditions, just the two of us. Aunt Diana visited twice and told Emma, your mom is braver than I was at her age. Remember that. Then for months after the restraining order I got a letter. Handwritten. From Dad. Lauren. I've spent 4 months in therapy. Court-ordered, but I kept going after. You were right about all of it. I did hurt Emma. I did manipulate you. I punished you for being successful because it reminded me of my failures. My therapist says I learned this from my father. A cycle of tearing down anyone who does better. You breaking that cycle, protecting Emma, setting boundaries, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry. For everything. I love you. I just didn't know how to show it without strings attached. That. I read it 3 times. Then put it in a drawer. A week later, Mom wrote, I left your father. Temporarily. I needed space to think about what kind of mother I've become. I chose him at that hearing. I chose keeping peace over protecting my granddaughter. I hope someday you let me try again. Then Kyle. Bridget's therapist told her she might have some issues too. It runs in the family. I'm working on my own stuff. I'm sorry. I didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. Because healing isn't about accepting apologies. Sometimes it's about letting broken things stay broken while you build something new. 6 months later, the restraining order expired. My lawyer asked if I wanted to renew it. No. But I want documentation it existed. And any future contact happens on my terms. Then I wrote them each a letter. To Dad, I got your letters. I believe you're trying. But if you want to be in Emma's life again, you'll have to prove, over years, that you've changed. Supervised visits only. And if you slip once, we're done forever. To Mom, I'm glad you're in therapy. But you choosing him at that hearing showed Emma that protecting abusers matters more than protecting victims. You can be her grandmother when you can show her what real love looks like. To Kyle, actions matter more than words. Show me you've changed. To Bridget, you made your choice. If you want to make a different one, you know where I am. I sent them all the same day. Then took Emma to Aunt Diana's for Sunday dinner, our new tradition. Did you do the right thing? Emma asked on the drive home. I don't know, baby, I said honestly. But I did the thing that kept you safe. And that's what matters. Grandpa was mean, Emma said quietly. But I miss Grandma's dumplings. I know, sweetie. I miss them too. Do you think they'll change? I thought about Dad's letters. Mom leaving. Kyle's apology. Maybe, I said. Some of them might. But even if they don't, we're okay. Because we have each other. And that's enough. Emma smiled. Yeah. That's enough. And it was. So that's my story. My family needed a break from me and I gave them one until they could prove they deserved to come back. They called me vindictive and cruel. But I call it survival. I call it breaking a cycle. I call it teaching my daughter that love without respect isn't love at all. What do you think? Was I too harsh? Should I have given them more chances? If you enjoyed my story, or if parts made you uncomfortable, please like this video. And if you've dealt with family dysfunction like this, share your experience in the comments. We all need to know we're not alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not judging. And thank you for reminding me that sometimes the hardest choices are the right ones.